some creative workouts. Fully respect this. Look at him hauling a Jeep.
A Jeep?
The question in the teleprompter is, Nick, do you think you can pull that off?
Well, hold on. CC, talk to me about this. You ever pull a car in your training?
We didn't pull cars, but we have the apparatus and everything to put him in that, but something safer so he doesn't hurt his back.
Okay.
That's not the safest exercise.
It reminds me of Magnus for Magnuson and the old World's Strongest Man competitions. Come on, some other people watch those.
Yeah,
you'd hold stuff with your teeth and you'd pull a
them dudes can't play no football.
No. Those dudes are sheep farmers. That's a true story. I'm not making that up. That's not like a stereotype. I'm telling you, the greatest World's Strongest Man ever, Magnus for Magnuson, was a sheep farmer. Wikipedia in America. I'm accurate.
Should we move on?
Fact check.
I just was going to talk about how big they were, but then he talked about the sheep, then I couldn't go where I wanted to go. So I'm like, yeah. You know?
Good job. Good self-censor of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not in this climate.
Not in any climate.
Time for stories to start your morning. Pelicans
Dusty, you
with
with
good
me?
news and bad news last night. I like that the smartest man in the world researches on Wikipedia.
Whoa.
They won their 10th straight, beating the Kings 114-101 last night. That's obviously the good news. The bad news, Anthony Davis left in the third quarter last night with an ankle injury. The night before, he left with a rib contusion. Nick, how big a deal is this for the Pelicans?
All right, first of all, just so you know, I'm not going to let you defame Wikipedia on the show. Wikipedia is one of the greatest accomplishments in human history, that collection of knowledge, free, accessible to the world. That's first of all. Second of all, on Anthony Davis. This is a big deal if he's actually hurt. I do not think he is actually hurt. Like, I'm saying he's faking it. What I'm saying is I don't think this is a
There's a difference between an injury and a woo-woo. You believe this to be a woo-woo, not an injury.
And I believe that if last night's game was a close game, they might have put him back in the game. They were beating the brakes off Sacramento, so they didn't need to put him back in the game. Obviously, if Anthony Davis is out for a couple weeks, the Pelicans could easily go from the 4 seed to the 9 seed, but I don't think that will be the case, and it doesn't seem like the team thinks that is the case.
If you had a criticism of Anthony Davis, what would it be? It would be injuries. It would be little freakish things that other professionals, they get into the same predicaments. They end up coming out of them. I don't know. It's kind of like Jenna walking onto the set. Nick and I, we walk, there's a little strip right here. We just actually step over it. Now, Jenna being more athletic, she runs through the tape. So, Anthony Davis, yes, it's a big concern of mine because this happens to him often.
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
Repeatedly, little nagging, that type of stuff.
All right, moving on to the trials and tribulations of Kawhi Leonard. He's played only 9 games this year, recovering from a quad injury. He said yesterday he hopes to return soon and finish his career with the Spurs. CC, are you buying Kawhi's comments?
I'm buying almost everything what Kawhi is saying, but to say that collectively the organization, now I know that collectively they came up with a decision to get him back in San Antonio and get him practicing, but there's no way that collectively him, the coaching staff, and the medical team came up with, oh, I'm going to leave the team doctor and go to New York City and start to get a second or third opinion, because that's just not how teams do business. They like you to stay within the confines where they can guard you, and also they can guard the information. San Antonio has been great as far as injuries in the past, taking the longer approach and getting people back healthy. But in this, I believe it's a very freakish thing to his squad. I believe Kawhi doesn't believe that he is healthy, and that was part of the reason. It's a strange injury that he wanted to get insight from another doctor outside of San Antonio.
And it also was strange that Greg Popovich would publicly issue essentially an ultimatum to Kawhi through the media. Like, listen, if you think you're going to come back in game 79 and we're just going to put you on the roster and play you in the playoffs, you got another thing coming. Kawhi responded to that public ultimatum by coming back, by showing up. What I will say is this. If Kawhi is healthy by the end of the year, the Spurs are a dangerous matchup for whomever they face in the first and or the second round. Like we saw this Spurs team last year when LaMarcus was not playing as well as playing this year, how dangerous they were in the playoffs. You could see another performance like that this season.
All right, moving on to the Rockets. Spoiler alert, this team's still pretty good. They won their 17th straight game last night. This one at the expense of the Milwaukee Bucks. Harden had 26. Rockets improved to 34-1 when Harden, Paul, and Clint Capella all play. I feel like they should all play. Nick, are the Rockets the most complete team in the NBA?
I feel they are. I have felt this way for the last few weeks, and they continue to win, and I feel like they continue to prove that. Now, I understand that Golden State has an overwhelming starting lineup, and they have 4 future Hall of Famers on their team. I get all that. But there is not a single aspect of professional basketball in 2018 that you want that the Rockets don't have. They have shooting, they have rim protection, they have perimeter defense, they have bench scoring, they have toughness. They have an MVP player as their 1 and a near MVP level player as their 2. They have complementary guys that know their roles, and they show up each and every night against the best competition. They've won 22 of 23. They've 17 straight, but also 22 of 23. The one loss that they have with Clint Capella and Harden and Chris Paul was a 2-point loss to the Pelicans. In that 23-game stretch, they've beaten Golden State, they've beaten Cleveland, they've beaten Boston, they've beaten Oklahoma City, they've beaten Minnesota 3 times, they've beaten San Antonio, they've beaten everyone you need to beat. For all those reasons, yeah, right now the Rockets continue to be the best team in the NBA.
If fans watch this show, that they would know how much we like the Rockets. But if fans aren't careful watching the show, they would think that, based on the way we talk about the Rockets, as if they got a 5-game lead on Golden State. They got a half-game lead. So we can talk about, are they more complete? I believe if they're more complete, it's irrelevant because it's not football. All right? It is a 7-game series. So over a 7-game series, what typically wins out? Pressure situation, coaching, and let's just go with bench, because the bench of Houston, it's really improved this year. We don't know about the bench of Golden State. We'll automatically give that Golden State has a better starting unit than maybe any starting unit that we've ever seen. So how do the bench players play? Even if you say, okay, they play better. The huge question mark with Houston is, how does their coach coach? Because I believe that Golden State has a decisive advantage against Houston in critical situations. Why? Because they've been through that. Now, can Houston get ahead of Golden State 2-1? Can they get up 2-0 on them? Then I believe the pressure is on Golden State. But Golden State, to me, has proven, even though they've had easy walks to their championships, they've been in these pressure situations before, and Steve Kerr has proven to be one of the elite coaches. D'Antoni, what is he going to do in Houston? What type of adjustments is he going to make? So complete is a relative term. I believe right now Golden State has a better starting unit. Does Houston have a better bench? But in the end, in critical situations, who has the better coaching? And right now, I would give that to Golden State.
One note on pressure, CC. You're right that if Houston's up 2-1 on Golden State, the pressure shifts squarely on them. One of the concerns, if you have a concern for Houston, is what if Houston's down 2-1 to the Timberwolves? What if they're down 2-1 to Oklahoma City? And then before you get to Golden State, because if they play Golden State, they're kind of playing with house money, even if they have the 1 seed, because Golden State was such an overwhelming favorite. But if before they get to the Western Conference
So you don't expect them to make the finals. If they get to the finals against Golden State, you feel like, oh, it's house money. That would be a great year.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is for the players. I don't think anyone would look at the Rockets if they get to the Western Conference Finals.
So Harden being MVP. All right, he's already won MVP.
Well, essentially, yes.
Okay.
Let me answer your question, because I think it's a fair one. I do not think Chris Paul, James Harden, Mike D'Antoni, the Rockets as a whole will be criticized heavily if what happens in this year is they make the Western Conference Finals and lose to Golden State. I don't think people would consider that choking. I don't think people would be like, oh, see, once again, guys can't get there. Chris Paul's never even been there. The point I'm making is where I think the pressure would be on them is in this very deep Western Conference. If they are down 2-1 in the second round,
someone other than Golden State.
Someone other than Golden State, then all of a sudden, all of these, see, told you, Chris Paul can't get there, told you about Mike D'Antoni, then that weighs on them.
That might say Golden State is more complete, because if Golden State gets down 2-1, we're not going to be worried.
That is, again, like you said, we can argue about the definition of complete. It's a pressure thing. The Rockets are under immense pressure in the first 2 rounds of these playoffs, because they can win 67 games this year, have the unanimous MVP, and if they get bounced in round 2,
because that's the only concern everyone has right now is how they're going to
say, see, told you so. Like, that's what they have weighing on them that I think speaks to your point.
And for the Rockets, the next big test is tomorrow night, where they play the best team in the East in the Toronto Raptors.
Team with the best record. Let's be fair.
I think I almost gave you agita for like a split second. All right, moving on to Kevin Durant. He's having another great season and having another year of being overlooked as front runner for MVP. According to Durant, this doesn't bother him. When you're great, you either play great or you tell people you play great while also playing great. Durant chose the latter, telling Yahoo Sports, I know how good I am. Everybody in this league knows how good I am. All the fans know. They know when I step on the court, they fear me as fans of the game. But obviously the move that I made, they didn't like it. So anything They take a shot at me here and there. I knew it was coming. Perhaps it was the statement that has caused fans to take a shot at him. What do you think about Kevin Durant and what he said here? Is he right? Is some of it right? All of it right?
I think he's right about all of it but one part. Fans do know how good he is. Players do know how good he is. When he and LeBron were in that commercial, that Uber commercial, and LeBron just kind of flippantly says, the All-Star Game's extra special for us because we're the two best guys and have been for a while. I mean,
I believe that goes a long way, too.
LeBron saying it?
Because who LeBron is and how Kevin, even though last year's final, he's always played second or third to LeBron James. But being in a setting like that, where someone else, not him, he didn't have to bring it up. You know, we're the best two players in the world, and LeBron agreeing with them. I think the way it was set up, and I know the personal relationship is deeper than people realize. LeBron James saying that, it brings credibility to even what Kevin Love says in this interview.
Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant says, absolutely. Yeah, so I do think, and we didn't have this part of the quote, he talks about how when he's in opposing arenas and he gets the ball open.
I've been there.
He hears people gasp.
I'm gasping.
I'll be like, you know what?
We were there.
When he was coming up in court in the finals after Korver missed his three. I think all of Cleveland Arena was like, oh, and then he hit it. All of that is true. However, the one part of this that he is either he doesn't care about and he doesn't have to care about it, or he is overlooking is the guys that Durant all time is going to be compared to are the 10, 15 greatest players ever. That's the level of talent he has. And if he does do what he seems to allude to that he's going to do, which is stay with Golden State and Steph Curry as long as possible, it is going to be harder to evaluate his career as far as where it is in the pantheon than any of these other guys. Because everyone else we look at as a top 10 guy had a moment in time where they were the unquestioned best player on their team and carried them regular season, postseason, finals, championship. Larry Bird had that. Kobe had that later in his career. Shaq had it early. Pick the guy. LeBron had it 2 years ago. Jordan had it a whole bunch of times. Magic had it in '87. Kareem had it in '71. We can go down the list. Durant right now might not get that. Now, maybe he doesn't care about that. Maybe just me as a guy who really cares about the history of the game and irrationally cares about ranking people all time. Maybe I only care about that. But that's the one part where I don't think he's acknowledging it. He's like, everyone knows how good I am. We know how good you are in today's game. Historically, that's where it's a little polluted.
I think it's more important where you stand based on where you are. I don't care if Kevin Durant's one of the 6 best players in the 70s. What do I care about that? Right now, in the era that he is the 2nd best player. Who's the best player on the Warriors?
I think it's Kevin Durant. I think it's
you're the one making the list. You just said, man, he is the best player on a great team.
Yep.
Every guy in your top 10. I don't have a top 10. Mm-hmm. I can punch holes in their resume.
Yes.
Jordan. You can punch holes in. When Jordan left Chicago, how many games did they win?
54 the next year.
The next year. So all those top. Magic. How many times did he lose in the finals?
Lost 4 times. Yep.
You can punch holes in his. Kobe. We know you punch holes in his. LeBron. I can punch holes in his.
Maverick series.
With his 5 losses in the finals. So every player has it. I don't believe Durant cares as much, and he should care about his era. Steph, Russ, and LeBron. Because that's what he's going to be judged on. Just being in the top 10, I would love someone to be able to poke holes. But if he gets multiple championships, we are watching one of the greatest players that we have ever seen. And not like Melo, not just a scorer. His ability to be able to defend the rim in OKC has added to his legacy. And as one of the greatest players, if you don't have trophies in the NBA because you play both sides, and our greatest players all have won, for the most part, championships, I believe Kevin Durant is in that class, and he gets multiple championships in Golden State. So, to me, he didn't have any history until last year in the finals.
I think you're right. He didn't have legacy history as far as winning. I think he could have gotten there in Oklahoma City. When you mentioned Steph, Russ, LeBron, I would include James Harden in that group.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
People might be wondering why am I anointing Kevin Durant as a top 10 talent potentially once it's all said and done? I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Who has averaged at least 27 points a game in their career? Here's the list. Jerry West, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, and Michael Jordan. By the way, the one guy on that list who isn't in people's top 10s is Elgin Baylor, probably unfairly, but because of the lack of championships. Who in NBA history has averaged that many points while shooting that high of a percentage, 49%? It's an even more exclusive list. LeBron, Durant, Wilt, and Jordan. Like, that is his level of talent. If he keeps this up, because he's still young, because he come out of just 1 year in college, like, he is going to finish statistically as one of the most dominant players we've ever seen. I hope at some point he gets to have his chance for the LeBron in Cleveland moment. Just a moment outside of this super team to go and do it. I don't know that he will. Go ahead.
LeBron didn't need that moment though, because he had the two previous there in Miami. It adds to his legacy, but you could not say LeBron was not clutch after winning those back-to-back and what he did in Miami.
But I don't think LeBron was in the discussion. I know you don't think he's the greatest player ever, but he is certainly now it is a discussion. It was not a discussion prior to that title in Cleveland.
All right, they just told me to break. Otherwise, I would tell you how incredibly arrogant I thought the comment was, and that all those people you listed have perhaps thought all those things to
Jordan
themselves.
said all of it. LeBron said
not
it.
like that.
Jenna, I just think I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I think your history's off on this. Larry Bird was one of the most arrogant players ever. Kobe Bryant said all these things.
Do you think he's an arrogant player, Kevin Durant?
I think he knows how great he is.
Right, so stop telling us.
Okay,
we get it. You're great.
Some guys go about it quietly, like Kareem did.
But I feel
some
like
guys
he
tell
used
everyone.
to go about it quietly. I don't think we heard about this in Oklahoma.
Maybe a championship empowered him to that degree.
Perhaps. All right, coming up, is this LeBron James the best LeBron James of all time?
He says
LeBron just said it.
LeBron is the best player.
And Kevin Durant is the second best.